Good afternoon and welcome to Viewpoint. I'm Rob Hamer, and joining me today we have Dr. Eaglin, who was the president of MSU. Stay tuned for our interview. And welcome back to Viewpoint. Joining me today is Dr. Eaglin, who is our president here at MSU. I'd like to welcome you for coming on. I know you have a busy schedule.
Thank you.
A lot of people don't know the president or Dr. Eaglin. Who are you? A little bio information.
Well, I am Ron Eaglin, and I've been here since July 1992, so I'm a sophomore. I live in the president's home. There is someone who lives there, actually, and I can tell you when I open the door up at 8:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning, thousands of eyes look at us. Married, 4 children, one living at home now, graduate student here at Moorhead, 23-year-old, degree in English and philosophy, now back trying to get a master's degree.
So do you like Moorhead so far?
We've enjoyed it. It's been a good year and a half, friendly people, a nice sized town, safe, close to other activities if we wish. So it's been a good experience for us.
What type of adjustments have you had to make to come into
Well, for here, I was at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina for 7 years, president of Coastal Carolina College, so I had to adjust at least in terms of the weather. Also, there's mountains here and sea there, but other than that, same responsibilities with the school and everything.
What does president do on the university?
Well, a lot of people understand. A chief executive officer, I'm responsible legally for all the happenings of the institution. Obviously, I have vice presidents who actually do the day-to-day sorts of business. We have, of course, most students are familiar with classes and library and registration and this type of thing, but there's a whole other side of the institution that hires nearly 300 people, and that's your custodian, cooks, and your electricians, your plumbers, and people who move things around and make things look nice. So, all in all, we have about 1,000 employees, counting students.
Yeah, students are employees also. What is a typical day for the president?
Well, I think that's what I like about the job. There is no typical day. This morning I happened to be on jury duty, so I had to go down. That's not what I typically do. But I try to be away working with alumni at least on an average of 1 day a week. I have a great deal of responsibility with the legislature and the executive branch of government. And then I spend a lot of time here working with student groups, alumni groups, faculty. You know, I must get at least 30 or 40 pieces of mail a day that has to be answered. So, you know, I stay busy.
What you mentioned faculty. What do you expect out of our faculty and staff here?
Well, I think teaching professional. First, they should like students. They should like their discipline, be satisfied that they are here, understand the mission of this place, and fit into that. Obviously, we want them to keep up with their discipline. By keeping up the discipline, it's going to make them better teachers. They're going to be more aware of what's happening. And then also, I think that they have a greater responsibility outside the institution, another responsibility outside the institution, to share their expertise with the region we serve.
Okay. What about students? I think a lot of students are here for the wrong reasons, and we kind of talked about this morning. Do you want to?
Well, I think students do come with the right reasons, and I think that they are motivated. However, sometimes the vast majority obviously will follow through, do what's expected of them, go to class, be mindful of others, and truly be good neighbors to other students if they're living in their residence halls, etc. Unfortunately, we have a few kind of not yet. Their maturity level hasn't got to the point where they really understand what higher education is about, and they don't take full advantage of what we have to offer.
Right. What about the graduate students that we have now? I know Moorhead is trying to increase the minority students to come back for graduate school. How is that going?
Well, I think it's going quite fine. We started that program this year. The idea was that it's very difficult to attract black professionals to this area. Obviously, if you look at Round County, less than 1% of the population is minority. that it gets even worse as one moves into the mountains itself, and that's the area we serve. I think that an institution like this has to be a heterogeneous population, which means all minorities should be represented, and certainly African Americans. So knowing that it's hard to hire professionals in, and we have obviously some professionals on our staff and our teaching staff, but I thought it would be simpler if we could bring in good role models of persons just coming out of their degree, like students would identify with them as graduate students, and hopefully be role models to help our minority students. And we don't have a good graduation rate.
Right. Okay, we've got to go to a break, and when we come back, we'll continue our interview with Dr. Eaglin. Stay tuned, please.
Hi, I'm Jamie Miter.
And I'm Anita Scales.
Watch NEWSCENTER 12 every Tuesday at 5.
We'll catch you up on all the latest news, weather, and sports.
News as it happens across campus, Rowan County, and the Bluegrass.
Hello there. I'm Thomas Pogue. I'll bring you through the wet, dry, hot, and cold.
And I'm Amy Estridge with sports. Catch me on Tuesdays, and I'll bring you up to date on all Eagles, Vikings, and nationwide sports.
That's NEWSCENTER 12 on Tuesdays at 5.
Hi, I'm Chandler Mapoma, and I produce Viewpoint, a minority interest-based show that deals with issues that affect us all on a local, state, and even national level. I'm standing here on the set of Viewpoint, where real people, whether you're black or white, male or female, can sit and express their opinions and let the people in general know about them. Viewpoint comes on the TV at 5:30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays on Channel 12. So tune into Viewpoint and find out what real people think about real issues.
Welcome back. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, our guest for today is Dr. Eaglin, who is the president of MSU. And I asked a question about the students, and Dr. Eaglin wanted to elaborate.
Well, Robert, I thought I might want to finish the thought. Our graduation rates among all of our students is not very good, and among African American students is really abysmal. And I thought that if we could bring in younger persons, graduate students, good role models, good students, that would be a tremendous role model. Whether it'll work or not, I don't know. You know, from what I can tell, it's working. You're one of those students.
Yeah.
Of course, you were with us for 4 years before you got to become a graduate student. But one thing about Eastern Kentucky that maybe you're unaware of, it's the most homogeneous population in the country. Basically, white, Protestant, and that's roughly 2/3 of our students.
Right.
Well, I think Morehead State has to be a heterogeneous culture. And therefore, that's why we do bring international students. We try to recruit African Americans into our institution and people from other states, different ideas, different religions, because that's what higher education is all about.
Right.
Have the opportunity to interact with people different than yourselves, because that's the world you're going to go into.
Right. I know what you said about the low number of students. What about professors and faculty and staff? How do we keep them here?
It's very difficult, because I think everyone wants to have a group that they associate with. You do too, white or black, it doesn't make any difference, but you want to have people with common thoughts, common ways of talking. I know that's different from the heterocultural notions, but you do want to feel some degree of comfort. You want your children to feel comfortable. And while this is a very good community, I think African Americans who come here feel rather isolated from other African Americans.
Right. What are some of your long-term goals for concerning the university?
Well, obviously to get better at what we do. I think when I came here, I said if you walked up the street and asked 10 people what the mission of this institution was, you get 10 different answers. I don't think that's true now. I think you'd get a common thread. We're a state regional university, primarily here to serve Eastern Kentucky, and we do that through excellent teaching, continuous scholarship, and public service. And I think if you ask most faculty members, they will identify with that and state that. Now, if you ask students what we're about, you're going to get a lot of different answers, because they come in with different motivations.
Right. What about Greeks? How important do you feel Greeks are on our campus to motivate students, or just in general?
Well, I think they can have a tremendous positive impact if they wish. And I have not been upset with our Greek system. As a matter of fact, I would not have allowed the fraternities to move into the Gillig apartment complex if I felt different than that. I do believe there's a lot more they can do. No one misunderstands my concerns about Thursday nights and too much partying on Thursday nights. I think that Friday is a legitimate school day, and whether one gets to class and psychologically not being there or just physically not being there is a waste of their parents' money, the state's money. And therefore, I think that if we're going to party, let's do it on the weekends and leave Thursday nights as just a regular school night.
Regular school night. You mentioned a lot more that they can do, Greeks. What would you like to see Greeks do?
Well, I think they do a great deal. It's kind of hidden in a way in that most of the young people who I think are in the Greek organizations are in many other organizations, and therefore their leadership gets acted out in many different ways. However, as a group, I think that they could do more, even more, around school spirit, have some common themes of what they would like to see accomplished during the year. Now, I'm not saying they don't do this. I'm just saying that it would be helpful if they could concentrate their efforts a little bit more. And I'd like to see yearly themes where not only the Greek organizations, but other student organizations, the faculty, we all kind of come together.
What, I guess, with the changes at the university, buildings and grounds changing, and so the plan to redo the whole campus, that costs. Will that cost touching our tuition, or?
Well, we were forced to do a physical master plan before I became president. So what you've seen in writing was actually done 6 years ago. We're pretty much holding to that, but I think that was mainly blue sky thinking. I don't look for much more development here. I see improving of older facilities, renovation, etc. In the institution, at one time, we thought the institution would be 10,000, 12,000 students. That's just not going to occur. I think that we will stay right between 7,500 to 9,000 students, which is a good size.
What about our tuition? Can we expect a tuition increase?
Well, obviously, none of us want to admit that tuition should go up, and especially in an area where 18 of our 22 counties that we serve are at almost 3 times the poverty rate of the United States. So obviously, our people have difficulty. What I would like to see occur is less tuition, because that's the best way to give scholarships to everyone. But that's not going to occur. Tuition will go up.
Okay. Well, we've got to take another break, and when we come back, we'll find out what that $50 pre-registration fee means and what it's for. So stay tuned, please.
They're still building walls around some kids like these. Walls that can keep them in classrooms away from other children. Walls that can exclude them from many school activities. These kids are just like other children, except for one thing. They have epilepsy. While some need special help, they don't need walls. Children with epilepsy or other disabilities, let's count them in. Get the facts. Call Epilepsy Foundation of America, 1-800-EFA-1000.
A log cabin on the lake. Just me and my wife and fishing.
I can tell you what I won't do. Won't just curl up and vegetate.
Do something I've wanted to do since college. Go back to college.
Eating un crucero. Alaska.
Secure your retirement plans with bonds.
When you think of retirement, you think no more boss, no more responsibilities, but it also means no more paycheck. So where will the money come from?
I have a pension plan where I work. But will I still be working there 20 years from now?
Start saving for retirement now with U.S. savings bonds. They're the easy way to save. They're the safe way to invest in your future. Get details where you work or bank, or write U.S. Savings Bonds, Department of the Treasury, Washington, D.C. 20226.
Look, you work too hard not to reward yourself when you retire.
Take stock in America. U.S. Savings Bonds.
You chose to drink and drive. This is the next 60 minutes of your life. Kentucky's roads can be highways or dieways. The choice is yours.
Welcome back. Joining me again, we have Dr. Ron Eaglin, who is our MSU president. And I'd like to again thank you for joining us. I know you have a busy schedule. I know in the beginning of 1992, the semester you had a reception for minority student leaders. Do you want to talk about that and how that went?
Well, when I first came to campus, as a matter of fact, your brother was one, your real brother, yeah. Among some other alumni who said that they were a little bit concerned about what we were doing in terms of working with African Americans and with our alumni. And I said, well, why don't we have a reception at the home? So during that homecoming, that very first homecoming in 1992, I invited all the black alumni of our institution to come, and it was very successful. We had about 45 to 50 people come to the house, had an opportunity to meet many of them, and make contacts, because the contacts are invaluable in trying to help place students who graduate from us, and also to provide role models.
How important is alumni help once we graduate? You know, how important is alumni to the university?
I'm trying to emphasize that more. I've spent a good deal of my time, you asked that question earlier, forming what we call presidential focus groups, where I've gone out into our region, some 15 areas, and asked about 15 to 20 alumni in every area to come. I've gone through about 12 of those now. I've met about 200 plus of our alumni in that kind of setting, really listening to them about what they'd like the school to be, and then making that contact, because these are all people who have been successful. And if one of them needs a person to work in their bank, or to work here, or to work there, I've been trying to use that contact to match students up.
Network kind of a thing. I know a lot of students were kind of concerned about why the Office of Minorities and Affairs kind of split. Do you want to tell us why?
Well, that became, well, obviously that happened when we reorganized the whole institution. I had to say yes over the final plan, but as I recall the conversations around that particular issue, we actually had some dysfunction, all sorts of things happening. We had one group out here recruiting just minority students. We had another group out here recruiting some, other students, and sometimes minority students. And we weren't getting everything in an efficient way. So what we'd split the office and took the recruiting officer, put them in admissions, which is under, by the way, now academic affairs. And then the other person, Mr. Gore, we put in student affairs. His job is to work with students once they're here, and then Peggy Overly works with admissions portion.
How'd that student croquet tournament go at your house?
Well, other than I didn't win, it was okay. It was a good time. What we did, again, this might sound like it was manufactured, and it was to some extent. Here, I meet people like you and others who are leaders in our black community, and then I meet students in our white community who are leaders, and they don't know each other.
Right.
And here we're in a very small school, and I said, we got to get a way through that. And what'd be a good way to do that, that everybody could have fun, get to know each other. So I got invited to a croquet tournament. I'm not very good at it, and I met a lot of people. It was a lot of fun. So I said, well, why don't we, on the side of the president's home, put together a croquet tournament, and we invited 20 black leaders, 20 white leaders, and 10 women black, and 10 men black, and 10 white, and so we had all this mix, and then we mixed everybody up on the teams. Well, when you got out there, nobody was any better than anybody you were there. Nobody was better than anybody else. Everybody had a good time, but you got to interact.
Right.
And if you can interact on a personal level, then I think you can interact in more important issues.
Well, does Moorhead have an open door policy, not admission-wise, but with students to go into faculty and staff's office and talk to them?
Well, I would hope so. I can't guarantee that that's true everywhere. And my office is sure open. I know sometimes it's a little intimidating. You see president written on the door, and there are two persons, support persons sitting there. But I've never failed to see any student or group of students that were adamant about seeing me. Now, sometimes they might have to wait and see me either at another time, or might have to wait a while because I might be doing something or with someone else. But I would hope that all faculty and staff have the same sort of policy that I do. But now I realize some of them are a little different and they got other responsibilities, but I hope that's open.
We've got to go to another break, and when we come back, I promise to get to that $50 registration question. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Tina Gleason, your host.
And I'm Kelly Gant, your producer.
And we're Modern Images. Wait a minute, I'm Robin Hayes, your host.
And I'm Dusty Dersham, your producer. And we're Modern Images.
Okay, we're both Modern Images.
Catch us live at 5 on Mondays.
See us live at 5 on Wednesday.
If you have any ideas for upcoming shows, please write to us at MSU TV, UPO Box 655, or give us a call, 783-2082.
Welcome to Thursday's edition of NEWSCENTER 12. We'll have weather with Susan Wilcox, Russ Hearn with all your sports information, and news anchor Holly Ray will bring you campus, community, and statewide news as it happens. I'm lead anchor Kirsten Huffman. We work hard to bring you the latest in sports, weather, and news every day. Join us at 5 o'clock every Thursday on Channel 12. News Center 12, we bring you news as it happens.
Welcome back to Viewpoint. Once again, Dr. Ronald Eaglin is joining us. The big question that we talked about earlier, do you want to bring up, is $50 pre-registration fee?
Well, it's not a fee. That's where we got in trouble. This actually started last May, I think, when a group came to me saying that they were concerned that students were signing up for courses, knocking other students out of seats, and then not showing up. So they had a plan that if students would pay a fee, or amount of money down, if you will, to guarantee their schedule, and then if they showed up, the fee would be, or the money they put down would go against their tuition, so it's not any new money, it's just holding it, that they would have more students in being responsible, and therefore students who need classes could get into classes. Well, I said it sounded like a good idea, and we checked around, and so we said go ahead and try it. It has been the most misunderstood. The other thing I said is we wouldn't do it in fall semester, which we didn't. Let's do it in spring when we don't have so many enrolling. And also that no one who has financial aid would have to pay it. They could get a credit for it. Okay. Well, and that's what we're doing. If someone's on student financial aid, they don't have to pay the $50 up front. They can go ahead and enroll, or pre-enroll. And if one is not on student financial aid, then they would have to give the $50, but when they enroll, actually pay the rest of their fees, that $50 is deducted. It sounds like a great idea. I've received about a half a dozen letters saying it wasn't such a great idea. But we're going to evaluate it, but I think the overall good is going to work. I know if you want a course and you get knocked out and then nobody shows up and you don't know that and you can't get back in the course, that would bother you, and that's what bothers me. How can we make students understand that if they enroll in something and with no intention of coming, they hurt another student, and that's what we're trying to get to.
Now, is there a certain time when this fee has to be paid, or is
gee, I think it's before you leave. Anybody here? There's a lot of people in the room here. Anybody know? Well, maybe we can find out and you can report that next week. I don't know the date.
Okay. Well, I hope that did clear up some misconceptions about that $50 fee. We talked about, you mentioned the Commission for Higher Education, the governor. Do you want?
Yeah, I think a lot of students don't understand that particular process. What's going on now is that the governor is trying to really revamp all higher education, and he wants unnecessary duplication ended, higher admission standards in all the public colleges and universities, and a series of 14 points that he made. I've been going to meetings regularly. Matter of fact, I go to one this Friday, where we're going to be looking at seriously many of the programs that we have here. And it might be that we are asked to not offer those programs anymore because they already exist in other universities. So it's a very serious process. It's a way to try to save dollars and be more efficient in higher education. But at the same time, I have to ensure that the people primarily of Eastern Kentucky have a wide range of programs, because we do serve the deep mountains. And if it wasn't for us, no one else would pay a bit of attention to the deep mountains. So I have to, as your president, make sure that we have an adequate array of programs here at this institution. And that's a very serious matter, and we're involved in it right now.
How will you decide what program would get cut, or is it just...
Well, we're going through a very extensive process here with task forces taking it to a planning committee, who then are looking through our faculty senate, our staff congress, and then they will send their recommendations on to me. That process is almost 2/3 filled. As a matter of fact, I think the planning committee finished their work last week. It is now in the Senate and in staff Congress. I think I'll probably have a report probably by the time we leave for the holidays.
Okay. What types of budget are we on here from the government?
Well, right now, if you figure that we are on some sort of formula, not everybody agrees that the formula is a good formula, but the fact of the matter is we're all on the same formula. We right now get 68%.
68%. Wow.
That means, what that means is two of every 3 students who are here, 2 of them are paid for by the state. The other one we take free.
Okay. What about financial aid? Is that a big problem?
Well, financial aid is a problem nationally. As you know, the Congress increased the amount of money in the loan package, but then didn't fund it. So it actually you have less money you can get from the federal government. At the same time, our tuitions are going up.
Okay. Well, we've got to take another break, and when we come back, we'll have our closing comments. Stay tuned, please.
Without a life jacket, you're like a fish out of water.
Welcome back. For our closing comments, I guess, what are our future goals here at MSU?
Well, you know, obviously I want us to get better. I said that earlier. But I think we're going to have to be more realistic about what we can provide. We're going to look at our general education program, find out where there's some efficiencies. I want you, when you leave here, to be able to compete with anybody, anywhere else. And that takes some effort by our faculty and some effort by you to make that occur. And if I can get both motivated, our faculty, who I think is pretty well motivated, if I can get all the students motivated towards the primary objective that they're here, and that's to receive an education and to be competitive in the next millennium, then I will feel like I've been successful.
How do we motivate those students? Is it from the faculty? Is it from home? Is it?
Well, it's everything. It's all, but it's mainly internal. I mean, you've got to want something. You've got to see. In many ways, we're too affluent. Things come too easy to us. Other parts of the world, and you'll see differences. Even our poorest are by far have a better standard of living than many other countries. And I think so often, we take too many things for granted. I think with the financial crunch, many things that we take for granted are going to dissipate, are going to fall away from us. And when that happens, I think people are going to get hungry enough to say, if I'm going to do better in this world, then I'm going to have to put time myself into making it happen. No one's going to give it to me. I'm going to have to work for it and work hard for it.
Okay. And I guess it leads up to what you want from a student. What do you expect from our students here?
I want our students to be successful. I've always said I don't worry about roads or other sort of things or creature comforts. What I'm concerned about is that when you walk into that classroom, when that door closes, that the best possible things happens for you, because then you can take that into life, and I know then that you will be a productive citizen. And that's really what I want for you. I want you to be happy, productive, and feel self-worth.
What about coming back to the university, giving back to the university? How, once we leave, and how can we give back?
Obviously, we want alums to invest back into the future. With the states funding us at 68%, money is always an issue and always a problem, and little things mean so much to us. So yes, we want our donations from our alumni, not only in time and effort, but we'd like their money too. It's important.
What about our athletic program?
Well, our athletic program is doing all right. I mean, everybody tried. To me, if you graduate, I was a four-year athlete. It offered me great opportunities to do what I like to do and enjoy it, but also it gave me an opportunity to go to school. And that's really what athletics does. It performs entertainment, a way to build pride, but more importantly, I hope our athletes learn things in life about themselves and translate them there into that classroom. Because if they don't do that, then all of it is entertainment. And there's a lot of ways to get entertainment. Our athletic program is really an integral part of the whole learning process of the institution.
Well, I hope you all got something out of our interview today. It was a great show, and I'd like to thank you. This is our last show for Viewpoint, and I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving, and thank you for watching Viewpoint.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.